Hi everybody. We are here with Kevin Allen Jackson.
Hello again.
Hello again. Tonight's web stream is or interview is going to be sort of a setup for the seminar that Kevin's going to be teaching to my TV members, sort of to get some definitions out, have something for reference on the site in case you need to go and check it while you're going through the seminar, and to cover some groundwork about, as I said, the definitions that are going to be addressed in more detail during the seminar. We're also going to give a little bit of context to the to what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to start by defining what makes a screenplay its own craft. What makes screenplay writing its own craft?
Wow. Okay. So,
Well, I mean, as opposed to writing a novel or a short story or an essay or...
sure, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit last time, and basically it really just comes down to what we spoke about last time, which is that in a screenplay, you have to communicate everything visually. The audience can't see inside the head of the character. So when you're writing, unlike a novelist who can talk about what's going on inside of a character's head, when you're a screenwriter, you can only communicate things about the character through their behavior, through their actions, through what they do.
Okay.
That is the major difference. The other, and it's related to that, is just that because it's on a screen, there are much more, sometimes, not always, but much more powerful ways to communicate information than just saying things. Mm-hmm. You can communicate a lot more through images. And that shows up in the writing part of it too. So
in a sense, the writing has to follow a structure and a set of rules, which, because of the format, is more graphic. Is that a fair way of saying it?
That's more visual, sure.
More visual. Okay.
Yeah.
Also,
I would also say someone once said to me that writing a screenplay is sort of like a mixture of writing a short story and writing poetry. There's a lot of imagery, a lot of things that are symbolic or metaphoric get communicated through imagery, and it's also sort of just like short stories. It's narrative. It's focused mostly on one main character and his or her journey.
okay, so the last interview we talked about 12 fallacies, and those fallacies are derived from...
Well, first of all, let me just say that, just to clarify something, that I didn't create those. It's not like I dreamt those up. They were taught to me just like they've been taught to thousands and thousands of other people by Writers Boot Camp. The 12 fallacies were dreamt up by Jeff Gordon, who's the founder of Writers Boot Camp. Certainly when we spoke last time, I gave my own spin on each of them. Mm-hmm. But he came up with them in response to the types of resistances, I think, that you consistently get from writers. The reasons why they shouldn't do something or why they have to do something and things like that. Why do I have to finish my script in time for a contest, for example? Or, why do I have to submit to my friend who's a production executive next week?
Okay.
Those sorts of things.
So, okay, let's talk a little bit about the methodology, since that's what we're talking about. There are several different ways about going about writing a screenplay. This isn't the only way.
Right.
This is just a way that you and many other people have found to be very practical or an approachable way.
Right.
In an overall kind of way, in a general way, can you explain why this particular method is one that you've adopted, and maybe
Sure.
talk a little bit about what the other methods are?
Well,
in your knowledge.
What I'll say first off is that everybody's process is their own, just like is the case for any artistic person. And whether you're studying at Writers Boot Camp or Screenwriters U or the screenwriting program at USC or wherever you're studying, you take the parts that work for you and you integrate those into your own personal process. So that would be the first thing that I would say. I forgot the question. I'm sorry.
No, we're going to be talking about a particular methodology.
Oh, I know.
Right.
Okay, I gotcha. So everything that I do is an amalgamation of everything that I've learned, everything that I've experienced, so on and so forth. The reason that so much of what I always go back to comes from what I learned at Writers Boot Camp is because Writers Boot Camp, at least in my experience, was very unique because they taught process. It wasn't just about a bunch of people sitting around and saying, well, I liked this, I didn't like that, which has some value if you understand how to hear that and how to interpret it. But it doesn't really tell you how you get there in the first place. And what I always say to people is that I think personally that what Jeff Gordon did for writing is very similar to what Stanislavski did for acting. He was able to come up with a process, a thing, a series of things that writers could do that were repeatable, that have nothing to do with a formula or anything like that. It's just, this is what the writer's process is, and here are exercises that you can do which go beyond just being exercises. They're actually the development work that you need to do in order to effectively develop your writing. And so that, I think, is what distinguishes Writers Boot Camp. Now, a lot of the things that get talked about there are the same sorts of things that you might read about in McKee's book. Some of the same things that you read about in some of the other books. I mean, some of the stuff that Sid Field talks about is, just kind of a given. But in neither of those cases do people really talk about process. They talk about what needs to be done, but not how you get there. Not what you do to get there. That's, to me, the major difference.
I just looked at you and remembered something, and it made me giggle.
Okay.
Basically, it has nothing to do with what you were saying.
That's okay. We're allowed tangents.
Oh,
we're the ones with the mics.
All right. So we've sort of defined what it is that we're going to be talking about. We're talking about the craft of writing a screenplay and the method that we're sort of going to be discussing this evening, which you will be much more detailed about in the seminar.